holes for boring or a borehole. One of the amazing things I learned over the years is that there is such a thing as boring for boring. There were many things in my life, personally, when I was still an active addict, and also when I was a clean addict, that I couldn't explain what was happening in my family, what was happening in my relationships. And the amazing thing, I was able to research the 12-step program and the relationship of Bill Wilson with Lois Wilson. I wanted to understand what was happening within the relationships, because my friends told me that the disease of addiction is a family disease. But it didn't satisfy me to understand that the family also needs to go through a process, and the family also needs to take a path, and the spouses and children and parents. I was really eager to understand what happened there, what was there, and truly in the story of Bill Wilson. When Bill Wilson gets clean in 1935, 34, to be precise, in November 1934, he actually hit a wave when he was really at rock bottom, and his wife took care of him. She took care of him for many, many years with his addictions and his relapses. In his difficult experiences, in his struggles, she was there every day, every hour, every minute, and truly kept him alive. And what happened when Bill Wilson had a spiritual awakening? Suddenly he became something. People highly respected him, greatly admired him. He began to strengthen from within, and as he grew stronger from within, his dependence on his wife gradually decreased. And here the real problems start to reveal themselves within the addict to addict. Essentially, she, who was in the role of caretaker for her alcoholic, suddenly found herself without a role in the world. And she started to say all sorts of things and do all sorts of actions, I think without control. There wasn't any high self-awareness that started doing certain actions until Bill Wilson comes to an understanding and tells her, you actually want me to go back to drinking. You were happy when I drank. Obviously, Lois Wilson went crazy and lost her mind. And she said to him, you are ungrateful. How dare you say to me that I wanted you to drink? I am the one who took you to rehab. I am the one who took care of you. I am the one who cleansed you. I am the one who brought you in and laid you down to sleep. I am the one who picked you up from the streets. I am the one who treated your wounds when you got injured. How dare you say to me that I want you to go back to drinking? But this sharp and clear statement and the actions she took, did the years actually bring her to the understanding that she has a problem? That she has a deep emptiness from the moment he recovered from a state where she truly was the woman who takes care, admired by everyone, praised by everyone, who would say to her, what an amazing woman, what a great woman, how you manage with him, how you take care of him, well done to you. Suddenly, all the glory she had was taken, and the glory has now passed to Bill Wilson, who is truly making progress and changing the world, until one day she essentially realized the penny dropped, and she goes outside and sees many waves of alcoholics waiting outside their homes, waiting for their husbands, and she brings them into the kitchen, and basically someone who starts establishing Al-Anon, which is for wives of alcoholics who slowly begin to understand that they have a problem, that they have a disease, and the disease is being addicted to addicts. They were essentially addicted to addicts. And essentially, they lost their role, lost their meaning, lost their fame. And over time, this thing developed. Many people think that Bill Wilson, with the 12-step program, truly made history, but his wife, Lois Wilson, made no less history. Essentially, all the groups of adult children, of CODA, codependents of Al-Anon, Nar-Anon, all the groups essentially dealing with family. In the family of the addict, the children of the addict, the partners of the addict, all this great praise and credit is attributed to Lois Wilson, who understood she had a problem, who understood she had a disease. And actually, When we look today here at addiction therapy, and from my experience, also from my personal experience of 33 years, you see, living with an addict is a problem. It's a leash that sucks out everything good that exists in you. And you need to ask, if the leash latches onto someone, what is the reason he stays there? What is the reason he continues to function there? And this is something I have been studying for 33 years, since I have been in this field. Here at the college and in DaoTherapy, we have many partners of addicts, many parents of addicts, and basically, you see the pathology, the illness of what it means to be addicted to a person. What it means not to be able to say no, to set boundaries. Even when the house is collapsing, when the relationship is collapsing, you see parents or truly partners or children going out of their way to save the son or the daughter or partner. And a very, very deep understanding is needed here to do what we call detachment, emotional detachment. The reason for needing emotional detachment is because of this emotional involvement, the illness itself. In professional understanding, this is projective identification. Essentially, the person lives inside you, a whole lives inside someone, and it activates them from within. It lives inside them and controls them from within. And people often do not understand the partners or the parents who really sacrifice so much for their children, but this sacrifice is not the right sacrifice. Professionals are needed, people who understand, and especially clean addicts. Do not go to various professionals who have no idea about addictions. Remember that this entire field of addictions was developed by those whoever lifted it, whoever manages millions of rehabilitation centers today around the world are clean addicts. All the knowledge, all the experience is in the hands of clean addicts. They are the ones who know how to set boundaries, how to face an addict, how to stand up to his pressure without being caught in the emotional involvement you are in. And therefore, when you do something or you're about to take a step, remember that the people you approach have a very, very important role if they have a deep understanding. Our lives as clean addicts within these conducts, it's not simple to face the intense pressure from an addict who says, I will commit suicide, I will cut myself, I will harm myself, whatever it may be, things that truly cause immense stress on the other side, you don't understand. No professional can understand how strong the manipulation is. Addicts can twist their entire surroundings, how they can really turn the world upside down to get what they want. And the central thing in life can save lives. And many times when people come to me, they want to save their son, their partner, their daughter. And I tell them, first thing first, you first. Many times when you work with the parent or the partner and you teach them detachment, you teach them helplessness, you teach them not to cooperate with the addiction, not to cooperate with the illness. Many times this is one of the main things for creating change. And it's tremendous power that you need to give to whoever is addicted to be addicted. But until that person understands that he too is sick because he thinks he's normal, that person, that mother, that woman, that husband, he thinks he's a normal person who's doing the right thing. Look, he's taking care of her. He's taking care of him. He is seeking treatment for him. Let me tell you something. I have seen families where their children become clean. They do the worst thing possible. They cause him to start using again without even realizing it. To the extent that I have seen parents buying drugs, or bringing pills from the doctor, from the psychiatrist, to sabotage their child without awareness. And this is after they try to get him into a rehab center, investing money, time, and efforts, searching and getting therapists. What haven't they done? But one sentence they say in a non-standard way, isn't it a waste of time that we lost? It can bring that person, that woman, that man, that husband, that father back to using, back to self-pity, back to guilt, back to shame, back to feelings. Difficult in the first year. We know how to help that person, that individual, overcome them. But when he gets home and starts hearing, isn't it a shame? Isn't it a shame about all the money? Isn't it a shame about everything we went through? Isn't it a shame about everything we lost? Now, many people within the cycle of addiction have resentments, angers, and frustrations. Let's say a woman that she is someone's partner and she feels she's in last place because he worries about money, he worries about drugs, and he is willing to sacrifice everything for the drugs. And what does she expect? She expects him to recover. She took care of him, brought him to rehab, got him into a rehab center, and she expects that when he comes home, she'll become the first priority. She doesn't understand that she's receiving a grown baby who doesn't even know how to breathe on his own, to walk on his own. And he really needs to be in the cradle for at least a year. And he needs to put his recovery first. And he needs to take care of himself now. Which is hard because it feels like a double betrayal. Because what are you saying? You're saying I'm waiting for my child, my son, my husband, my wife, to come back from the rehabilitation center. And we'll start to arrange everything, fix everything. Now he will see what I did for him. Now he will see what I sacrificed for him. Now he will see what I gave him, what I nursed him with. I understand the pain of people, of parents who are waiting to get their child back, and for him to put them first, but it's not going to happen. That really will not happen now. All the emotions that were suppressed for years, all the anger, all the frustration, it was repressed. Why? Because he was ill. So you can't express the anger, the resentment, the frustration. You see the person is ill. And then when he is suddenly clean, and he suddenly returns, and he starts to talk a little, and he shows some signs that he's got signs of strength, and he goes to support groups, and he goes to therapy, and he feels loved, and he feels he's starting to get stronger. Once again, the family members are left behind. They are forgotten behind. And this frustration causes them to say or do things. It returns that same child, that same husband, that same father to using drugs. I'm speaking in masculine form, but it's also true for women. You must not remind them of the past. You must not remind them of the sense of missing out. You must not remind them of the regret. You must not remind them of the losses. You must not tell them how much you sacrificed for them. Because when you tell them how much you sacrificed and how much you gave, they face a moment of guilt they cannot bear. Now we can talk. I can talk a lot about this story. What is important to remember, so that you will be able to say, or set boundaries, or start to recognize who you are at all. Because if the addict does not know who he is, surely you do not know who you are, because you are being manipulated. Through projective identification, through the illness you caught, because addiction is a contagious illness, it infects the people around it. People who suffer from addiction spread this illness to their surroundings. Do not forget that when there is an addict in the family, the whole family revolves around them. Brothers are neglected, sisters are neglected, the needs of the parents are neglected, everything is neglected, nothing is truly significant anymore, and you need to care for that boy, that girl, take care of them. To save them, because it's really a fatherly feeling, a motherly feeling, a feeling of partners who want to save the person. And suddenly to encounter this reality, being infected by the disease, where you might think you are normal, that you think you are completely normal, but you're not. You are sick just like that addict. Only you don't use drugs, you live the addiction through him. He uses, he gets high, but you live the disease through him. When you're unable to say no to him, he's also unable to say no to drugs. When you're unable to set a boundary, he also does not know how to set boundaries for himself because he has no way to learn how to do it in life. So I know how frightening it is to do the detachment, this emotional disconnection. When we say detachment, it means to disconnect from him. Really to emotionally detach, so he won't be able to trigger your anxieties, fears, and worries. Because if you worry that he will fall, he will fall. First, he will manipulate you because you are worried and fearful and have anxieties. So he will be able to take whatever he wants from you, even when he is clean. And therefore, the greatest work of family members, partners, children, and parents of addicts, and addicts, it is to do the detachment, this emotional detachment, this emotional involvement that exists between you. And it is work and it is labor. A person must be very self-aware, very aware, and very honest when they suddenly find themselves addicted to certain emotions within the relationship, to certain thoughts, to anxieties, fears, worries. It should also be said that he is managing you, and you are no longer managing your lives. It takes courage to say, I am addicted, I am an addict to selling, and I have symptoms related to this addiction, some of which are attempts to control. The need to be in control and many other symptoms. And I think that this is the most important thing for every mother, every father, every partner, every child who truly wants to care for their parent. You must understand that it starts with you. The path and journey are not just about sending them to rehab and waiting for them to come home. The way is to put him in rehab and start making a path for yourself. And start making a path for yourself to be brave enough inner strength to understand. It's often a matter of understanding that I have a problem. That we, as a family, have a problem. And if we don't address the issue, the cycle will repeat itself. We will make the same mistakes, receive the same results, and nothing will really change. Nothing. And from the experience of tens of thousands of people I have guided in these processes, even in our rehabilitation centers, in our day center, in the 12 steps courses attended by many family members, and in learning trauma-focused psychotherapy and addictions, I have the ability to track that it is a process of 3 to 4 years, sometimes 5 years. When a person trains themselves to become a professional in the field and succeeds in understanding, both through themselves and through other family members, how dramatic and important it is for us to have the self-awareness and the ability to recognize when the illness is imposed on us and when we are expected to cooperate with this illness. You need courage to make a cut, a detachment, to sever this emotional involvement, because many parents feel that if they do this, they will lose the child, and that's not true. You will simply lose only the sick part within the relationship. I will give an example of why it is so scary to do this. It's like someone who is in love with someone, and she loves him. But the relationship is a destructive relationship. There is projective identification and no ability to do. Cut. People live through each other, and then you come to a person and say, listen, you must detach from her. But he says, if I do that, I will lose the infatuation, the bond. Many times that was the cost. So often people fear losing the relationship. What was, the idealization, the beauty in imagination, it's all just in fantasy, because in reality, there is badness and many destructive and unhealthy connections. Price tag. But there is some fantasy involved, or a deep wish connected to it, that initially for a certain moment, the infatuation was there, even in relationships between parents and children. And people are afraid of losing it, afraid they will make this detachment, this emotional disengagement, like, wow, what disaster will happen? So I'm here to tell you, if you do not save yourselves, you will not save your children, your partners, or your parents. The way to save them is to save yourselves, even if it takes years, until you see results on the other side. But you must stop cooperating with the addiction of that guy or that girl. You must stop this emotional extortion. You need to be able to stand up to the incessant pressure and say, that's enough. I have boundaries. I have my way. I consult. I don't answer alone. Often when I see people in this, people who have some form of delusion of grandeur, many of them were adult children. Many of them were born to take care of someone in the family. Many of them do not have the ability to ask for help because they feel they are God. It's a kind of divinity, as if I am the one who actually revives him, gives to him, provides him. And go tell someone who feels like they are God to ask for help. You must not do anything with your son or daughter without asking for help. You must not do anything with your husband without asking for help. These are people who truly believe they have superpowers. And the environment also gives them the feeling that they have superpowers. And these are people who do not know how to ask for help. They do not know the omnipotent experience is that I am all-powerful and that I will ultimately save them. This is one of the most difficult and painful cores that exist within a relationship of addicts to addicts. So I hope I help someone, or to certain parents, or to certain partners, or to certain children, without meeting Ezra, without making a change, without going through a process. It just won't work. And not for him, just for you. So thank you very much for being with me. You melted.